Tonight, an In Your Side investigation. We take a closer look at the heartbreaking death of specialist Christopher Lopez.
The young soldier's dream of serving his country cut short on his first day of firearms training as his family demands transparency, answers, and accountability.
It's hard to walk in this room.
Carmen and Hector walk us into their late son, Specialist Christopher Lopez's room, a space filled with memories.
When I came in this room, I can't close this door because I feel if I close the door, he won't come home.
Candles and pictures stay lit through the night here. A bag of his favorite snacks sit by his bed.
The first night, he was good. We realized he's gone. He's not coming home. I turned around and I washed everything, and my husband's like, let it go. I can't. My son has to have clean sheets. He has to have a clean bed to come home to.
Handwritten letters he once sent home to his mom. In one, he writes about training, his faith, and his goal to make his family proud. Writing, I've also been reading the Bible more, and here's a verse I found amazing. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. These quotes remind me of how you raised me. I miss everyone, but I'm going to push through to be the first in our family. Love, Christopher.
We told him the hardest part is your training. You pass the training, it'll be easier.
Christopher died March 12th on his first day of firearms training at Letterkenny Army Depot.
We miss him. We love him. I wish he was home. I want to talk to him. I want to hug him. It's hard.
A life cut short and a family determined to find answers.
I will fight to the day I die to find out and to see if we can have anything changed. Because like I said, it shouldn't have happened to my son, and it should not happen to nobody else.
A promise that Christopher, a loving son known for his kindness and service, and whose dream of serving his country will not be forgotten.
The only death certificate that we've been issued so far says pending investigation as a cause of death.
We went to the funeral home and talked to the director who took care of Christopher. He showed us there are still many unanswered questions. The cause of death on Christopher's death certificate listed as pending.
It will take several weeks to several months for them to have all of their testing done.
Right now, the Department of Justice is blocking the release of Christopher's preliminary autopsy report. We sent 2 right-to-know requests to the Franklin County coroner to learn more about the injuries Christopher suffered when he was shot. They told us the United States Attorney's Office instructed them to essentially seal the report during the ongoing investigation.
If the family would have requested an independent autopsy, to be honest, I don't think that the independent autopsy would have shown anything that the coroner's office autopsy will show once those results become available.
Director Dreisel said when he cared for Christopher, he did not see any bruising on his body, but he did see one wound on the upper right side of the chest. That's where investigators told the family he was shot and the bullet lodged in his spine.
Depending on the caliber of the gun, you could have an entrance wound but no exit wound.
Dreisel tells us he also saw a smaller wound on Christopher's right side under his arm. He says first responders could have caused that wound if they had to insert a tube while trying to save his life, but he's not 100% certain.
I want the death certificate. I want the toxicology report. I want the police report.
For Hector and Carmen, the answers cannot come fast enough. They're asking for transparency during the investigation.
We don't know if that person is even going to be charged. How are you going to tell a mother, a father, brothers and sisters that that person might not get charged?
We reached out to CID agent Kevin Nolan. He's investigating Christopher's death. He declined our invitation for an interview, as did the Army, saying findings will be shared with the proper authorities when the investigation is complete. The Department of Justice told us they can neither confirm or deny if they're investigating. But the assistant U.S. attorney for the Middle District told Carmen and Hector they are on a recorded phone call.
We want to make sure that a thorough investigation is done.
The hardest part is trying to figure out how your son died.
And we also learned the gun in this case, a Sig Sauer M17, was sent to a forensics lab in Georgia for testing. Letterkenny Army Depot tells me that gun is the standard training sidearm used in that facility. Now, the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission banned the M17 last year because of unintended discharges and improper handling. We're also investigating if proper firearm safety protocols were followed and if bulletproof vests should be required during weapons training.